Hey guys, it's GameFace here and welcome back to a bit of a different video today. It's my top 25 favourite career mode players. Now by that I mean that there is actually no order. It's not like a 1 to 25 type thing, so there's no order to it, and it's 2 from each position on the field. So that means there would be, if it's a 4-4-2 formation like it is with this, that means there would be 4 centre backs selected and like 4 centre mids. But there's 3 wildcards as well, which I pick players from any position to also join the top 25 list that I've created. So first of all, we're going to get on with the goalkeepers. Now Leno for me is one of my favourite goalkeepers to play with. Let me make this clear, it's not about the best players. You can find that on Foothead or whatever. It's just purely my favourite players that have played very well for me. Leno I've been using on Man City career mode that sadly had to finish now, and he's been a really good goalkeeper for me actually. Scuffit's a good option if you don't have much money. He's a very cheap player but a good one for the future, and especially if you're doing like a long-term career mode, he's going to be a really good one in maybe 4 years time, something like that. You might not even have to wait that long because he is already 71 overall, which is very good for a keeper of his age as well. So moving on to the right backs, we do have Danilo. Now he again is one that I use on Man City's career mode, and I've used him on loads of different career modes as well. He's a really good right back, really solid. Look at his stats. I mean, you're struggling to try and find any orange ones there. There's 3 orange on his main stats, obviously completely ignoring the goalkeeper ones, but there's 3 orange stats and everything else is green or dark green, so that's very good for a right back. He's obviously very young as well. He's 22 years old, and as you can see, he's not actually worth that much, so you can get him on quite a good value. And his stamina is 88, which is kind of one of the main things about him. He just keeps on going, and he's also 6 foot as well, so he's not going to be one of those small fullbacks at the back post that can't head or anything. Moving on to the next right back, and this is Ayura. Now he is currently on loan at PSG, and that means that if you are doing a PSG career mode, you will lose him after the first season. I recommend you try and buy him back because he is such a good right back. He can actually play multiple positions. He can also play right mid as well, and I think EA at one point did actually have him as a centre back, or they do now have him as a centre back, because this is actually the default overalls and the default settings as opposed to the downloaded updated versions of them. So he currently is on the default settings, 76 overall, 21 years old as well, very fast player. He can do lots and lots of things, a very good defender, also very good at attacking as well, so you can play him right mid. Moving on to the centre-backs, I've got Mats Hummels, a very talented centre-back. He's very expensive though. You're only going to get him if you're playing at some of the best teams in the world, so probably Real Madrid and things like that. You might be able to sign him. He's probably going to cost you around 40 to 50 million. Very expensive player, and that's at least as well. It might even be more than that depending on how far up through the season you are. But he's definitely worth it though. He's 25 years old, so he's got quite a few years left in him, especially if you like to play your centre backs up until they're about 30. He's got another 5 years in him there. 6'4", but he's also quite mobile as well. You can see his acceleration and sprint speed in the 60s there, and sprint speed nearly 70, so very good player. Heading accuracy 91 and standing tackle 90, so really good stats on him. Moving on to my wildcard, my first one, which is Umtiti. Now he is a very good player, such a good player, 20 years old, 77 overall. The only thing that lets him down is his height. He's 5'11", but the good thing about him is he's left-footed, and there's not too many decent left-footed centre-backs other than like Laporte and Vertonghen. They're the main ones that you can get for left-footedness. But Umtiti is a really, really good player. He's quite cheap as well. You can see his value there is 3.3 million, but he's also really fast as well, mainly down to the fact he's not particularly tall. Again, a really good buy if you're with a team that maybe doesn't have loads of money. And moving on to the next centre-back, we do have Musacchio, and his pace again is very good for a centre-back. It's on the high 60s and then 70 for his sprint speed as well. This guy's a little bit older than the other centre-backs I've been looking at and that I will look at. He's 23 years old and 79 overall, so he's kind of getting a couple of years away from his peak years. And do you know what? He's a really good centre-back as well. He's not kind of the obvious option, but he's 6 foot, and yet he's still fairly fast as well. He just seems like a really solid centre-back that's very good at heading in-game. Moving on to Laporte. Now he's kind of the common one. Everyone goes for Laporte because he's a really good left-sided centre-back. So yeah, he's kind of the obvious one. I won't say too much about him because a lot of people already know he's a very talented player. Now moving on to the next centre-back, the final one I think it is, Balanta, 21 years old, 75 overall. Again, really cheap if you're with a side that doesn't have that much money. He'll probably join. 25 grand on his wage as well. He grows really well in the first season, kind of up to around 79 if you're lucky. Also his pace, again, very good. That's kind of the common theme going through the defenders mainly. They are very fast. You can see his sprint speed there, 79, so no one's really going to run past him in particular. And height-wise, again, that's his only little downside. He is a small centre-back, or relatively small. He's 5'11", so that's something you maybe want to look out for. You probably want to partner him alongside someone quite tall. Moving on to the left-backs and the final part of the defence. The obvious one really is David Alaba, as you can see there. So again, I won't say too much about him because everyone knows he's really good. And on the game, he can actually play centre-back, centre-mid and CDM as well, because he used to play CDM. But don't worry, I won't miss out Jetro Williams. Again, another brilliant player. He's kind of like a foreign version of Luke Shaw, I suppose you could say. He's pretty much Luke Shaw, really. He's got similar sort of stats, but he's not recently joined like Luke Shaw has on the game. So that's the reason why you'll be able to pick him up. He's also very fast as well, which is very good. His jumping's good as well, so at the back post, he should be able to win quite a lot of headers and won't really miss out on them. Sadly, though, he's not particularly tall. Hopefully the jumping kind of counteracts that a little bit, and he's very good going forward as well as crossing, 84 as you can see there. Moving on to the midfielders, Abu Diaby. You're probably thinking, why have I got him? One of the worst players ever in real life. No, but he's actually a really good player on this game. He's kind of like a cheap Yaya Toure or someone like that. He's a really strong player, and he's actually really good. It doesn't seem like it, but he's got 12 months left on his contract. You'll be able to pick him up for really a cheap price. 2.4 is his value, and his wage is 60 grand. That's the only downside, his wage. If you're with a club that doesn't have much wage, you're probably not going to get it. It's going to have to be a Premier League club that have a decent amount of wage budget. Definitely recommend you getting him. He's a cheap Yaya Toure or someone like that. Honestly, just try him. He's a really good midfielder, decent amount of pace on him, and he's got shot power and fairly good passing as well. His shooting's really good. It kind of underestimates it on the stats, but in actual game, he's really, really good. So try him out. Also, Vidal, I've used him on my Juventus career mode. You guys have seen him before. He's a really fast player in game. He just does everything right, and as you can see, the only orange stat he has is his free kick accuracy. I recommend, obviously, you don't use him for free kicks, down to that, but his main features are his passing, and also he's fairly good at shooting as well. He scores some really good finesse goals on my career mode for me. So moving on to Tielemans, and again, this is one of the best players you're going to get. Everyone seems to sign him, and to be honest, I don't blame them for doing it. He's on 8 grand a week, so a really cheap wage. You can get him at really good really lower league clubs as well, and his value is 2.2 million, so pretty cheap player considering the fact that 17 years old and 74 overall. Obviously, you won't get him for 2.2 million, but his value is there, and if you maybe let him run out of his contract or something like that, you might be able to get him for cheap, but I think he's going to be around 10 million. Yeah, he is around 10 million pounds there, as you can see. So he's not particularly cheap, but you can still get him with lower league clubs, maybe in the Premier League or something like that, lower down in the table, just down to the fact he's on 8 grand a week. But if you look at his stats already for a 17-year-old, pace-wise he's really good. So again, he's another one of those players that's quite strong and just seems to have a physical presence, even though he's 5'9", which I can't believe I've just seen that. 5'9", he seems like he's around 6 foot in game. He passes the ball really well. Moving on to the next centre mid, this guy was another wild card that I chucked in there towards the end. The reason why I've done that is because I really liked him when I played on my first season with Juventus. He's got so much pace. I played him in centre attacking mid mainly, but on here he's a centre mid. And again, he's really young. Sadly though, he's only on loan at Juventus, so if you were to do a career mode with them, then you'd have to go buy him or get him back on loan again, and the chances of loaning him are quite slim, so you'd probably have to buy him after the first season, and it'd be well worth it. He's such a good dribble of the wall, and he's got me out of so many bad situations in game before. Can score a lot of goals as well, so definitely someone you want in your team. Moving on to my left mids now. So I've got Timo Werner, I think that's how you pronounce his name, a really fast player. I believe he can play striker. Yes, he can. He's German, he can play striker, And again, he's going to be a really talented player. If you don't have much money, he might be someone to try and go for, although he might have recently just signed, I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't seem like he has, so if you've got around 5 million, then go for him. Again, he's only £5 a week, so if you do change your budget allocation, then you might be able to sign him if you've got £5 a week spare. And moving on to another midfielder, actually it's not in order, it's a centre attacking mid, and it's Sissoko, a centre attacking mid. Now, he is really good as well. His stats have gone up really good for me on some of my career modes. I did one with Arsenal off camera, and hopefully I've included a picture here that basically shows how much he's grown, and yeah, his stats are pretty much all green, which is really good for a centre attacking mid that doesn't particularly grow that much in terms of overall, but his stats just shoot up so much. He's really worth buying, and he's someone that you'll probably be able to get off Newcastle because they won't be really looking for that much money for him, I wouldn't imagine. Again, he's a very fast player, so he's definitely someone I think you should sign for that midfield to try and make it a little bit faster, and that's the reason why I tend to use him as well, because he is so big, 6'2", and he's really fast, brilliant stamina, so well worth signing. Moving on to the right mid, it is Lucas, our first one. He's a right winger, but I've pretended he's kind of a right mid. So he is basically a really, really fast player. We all know that. We've played with him before. Really fast player, very good at dribbling, and he's kind of ideal if you're playing three up front. He really does have very good ability going forward. He's not going to help defend, really. That's not really his playing style. But yeah, you kind of know everything about him. He's one of my favourites again, purely just because he's so fast and he's able to dribble with the ball and get past defenders really well. Moving on to the next player, that is Lacazette now. I know you're thinking, yeah, it's kind of unoriginal, everyone likes Lacazette, but at the end of the day, it's my favourites. It's my favourite career mode players, and he is on there. So his dribbling, again, is really, really good, and along with his finishing as well, both 86 on this. And the main thing about him is he's so fast. He's so fast and agile that he's able to get past defenders really easily. And that is kind of one of the main things about him. He's not going to actually set you back loads considering how much he grows. He's on 100 grand a week, but he's only going to be around maybe 25 million at the most, as you can see by those valuations. So he's not going to set you back loads of money. Obviously, if you're a team like Leeds, you're not going to be able to sign him. But you'd need to probably be a Premier League team, I'd imagine, to be able to get him. Moving on to another striker that I really like, that's Sergio Aguero. Very similar player, actually, to Lacazette, except a lot more expensive. Again, he's very good and agile. He's very fast as well. He's got very good dribbling and finishing. So a very similar player. He's kind of like your older and a little bit better Lacazette there, Aguero. So someone that you should obviously sign or just use if you are with Man City. Don't sell him to Real Madrid. Seems like that happens every single time I do a career mode. Moving on to the other striker, and that is Dumbia. Now, again, you're probably thinking you've just put him in there for the pace. Yeah, pretty much I have, to be honest. But also he's got really good dribbling and finishing yet again. He's another one of those strikers that can finish really well, and if you stick him up front, he just does a really good job for you. He's 5'10", so he's not tiny, but he's not much of a physical presence, really. So his strength, as you can see, is 66, so he's not particularly good. You probably want to partner him up front with somebody, or play him three up front with him. Don't leave him up there by himself, because he probably won't be able to do particularly well there as a one-man striker. Moving on to another striker, I think that's my last one actually. This was my final wildcard that I chucked in my top 25, and I can't pronounce his name, so I'll just call him Clinton for ease. And basically he is a really fast player that grows a lot. He's loan listed every time you go on your career mode, and he's someone you should definitely sign if you're like a championship club like Leeds, that you don't really have that much money. If you want to try and get him on loan, then that is the best thing to do. But if I was you, I'd actually try and sign him permanently. He's not going to cost loads of money. I don't think he's recently joined. He hasn't. He's probably going to cost you maybe 2.5 million. He's on a 5-year contract, so you'll have to maybe up it slightly. But again, he's a really good player. Only 64 overall and 20, so maybe not the best if you look at his overall and age, but he grows really well. I think in my first season with Leeds, I played him like virtually every game, and I got him up to 70 overall on the first season, so that's pretty decent. As you can see, again, he's really fast, and his speed just keeps on growing and growing. Same with his finishing and dribbling as well. Someone to definitely stick with in your team. Moving on to the next player, I think it's Brandt, I'm just going to call him Brandt. And again, he is very similar to Werner, actually. He's a very similar sort of player to him, He's 18 years old, again 70 overall, and a very fast player that will actually get even faster as you continuously use him in game. I think he can play multiple positions. He can play centre attacking mid as well, which is always quite good to have players that can play in a lot of different positions. He's also 6'1", so he's going to be a bit more of a physical presence. Even though he might not be that strong, he might be able to head the ball for you a bit more in that centre attacking mid position, or even out wide. So he's a good little player to have in your team, just to kind of mix things up a little bit if you are getting stuck in the game. Moving on to another left winger, and this is Javinho. Now, again, similar sort of thing to Dumbia. He's extremely fast, but I just like it the way that he just comes inside constantly, wants to score goals, and he does score a lot of goals for me. His dribbling's really good, 85 dribbling. Ball control of 80. His finishing doesn't look too good on this, but he grows really well. Again, I've had him on an Arsenal career mode alongside Dumbia, who was playing up front in a 3-man strike force. And yeah, Javinho grows a lot. He goes up to like 86, 85, something like that. Even though he's not supposed to grow that much, he does grow quite a lot. So again, a really good player to get. His stamina's brilliant, and he just constantly runs for you. And the final player, I think it is, yes, it's the final player, Kingsley Coman. Now, if you've watched my Juventus career, then you will know this guy is so good in game. Really good player. I prefer to play him striker, so he is another, I think, wild card I chucked in there. In fact, no, he wasn't. He was actually in my original 4 strikers. So he's a really good player. Very fast again. I know that's the common theme. He's a very fast player, but his dribbling's really good and his ball control is very good for an 18-year-old. 68 overall. He grows again really well, like 74 overall, I think it was, after 1 or 2 seasons. So that's very good considering his age. And again, he can play left wing or striker. Definitely play him striker though, not left wing. And if I was you, I'd also start him off the bench as opposed to starting him in the team. But he can do a job either way. And yeah, that pretty much concludes my top 25. There is the list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, then please go hit the thumbs up button. It was suggested by one of you guys, and I kind of modified the title the suggestion was originally meant to be for. But anyway guys, thank you for watching. Like I say, if you did enjoy this, then please go hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you are new around here. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.